Okay, I have the top of the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and get started to make sure we have as much time as possible for the presentation and the conversation at the end. I want to welcome everyone to today's webinar, Trauma in the Library, Findings to Date about PTSD among Public Library Staff and Methods for Ensuring Trauma-Informed Care. Our presenters today are going to be Dr. Fisher and Lexa. A quick rundown of some technical aspects before we get started. I think most people are familiar with the Zoom at this point, but the easiest way to access the controls and the panels is to exit full screen mode. And to do that, you're going to place your mouse at the top of the Zoom window, select View Options, and select Exit Full Screen Mode from the drop-down menu. We are using the chat function today to engage in discussion with our presenters. To access the chat, click on the chat icon to open the window and select all panelists and attendees or everyone from the drop-down menu. Go ahead and give that a test right now. Let us know in the chat box where you're joining us from today. We are providing live closed captioning for this session. To access the closed captions, click on the closed caption icon in the panel menu. If you need technical support during the webinar today, I will be here once the presentation starts. Miles from our office is also here. Please use the Q&A function for technical support. Sometimes chat is moving very quickly and we cannot see what gets posted in there. If you are having problems with the audio settings, the Zoom settings are on the lower left-hand side of the panel. You may need to change your output method or adjust your volume. If you're joining us today and you're a user of social media and like to share things you find of interest during the webinar, we are using the Lives for Health hashtag today. So with that, I want to welcome everyone to today's Spotlight Speaker Series, a webinar from the network of the National Library of Medicine, Regional 6 office at the University of Iowa. My name is Bobby Newman and my pronouns are she and hers. I am the Community Engagement and Outreach Specialist in our region, and I connect with libraries in our region and across the country. I have hidden my own move buttons for my slides. There we go. Before we get started, a word about who we are. The network of the National Library of Medicine is the outreach arm of the National Library of Medicine, which is one of the 27 institutes and offices at the National Institutes of Health. Right now, you're probably most familiar with the Office of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, where Dr. Fauci is out. I do want to remind everyone that we are in the middle of a global pandemic and collective trauma, especially considering recent events. I encourage you to prioritize your wellness during this webinar. We may cover some triggering topics. Please feel free to doodle, color, knit, move your body in ways that feel good to you, eat, drink, take a break, and whatever else you need to do to take care of yourself during the webinar. Your wellness is more important than anything, including this webinar. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that Lexa and Dr. Fisher may speak.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Bobby, for that very, very kind welcome, and also for the alert about trigger warnings. And please, as Bobby said, you come first. Your wellness comes first. So please do whatever is makes you feel well. And I also want to introduce my colleague, our project manager, research coordinator, Lexa. Thank you, Lexa, for being here with me. Lexa is like the expert, bar none, in this field. So Lexa and I are going to be team sharing this presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Here we go. And let me just, hold on here, flip into presentation mode. Let me get this up. Wait, no, hang on. It is here on the... I'm trying to get the thing to disappear from the bottom. Nope. I can't get the bar. Yeah, it's covered up. How am I going to get it to on? Is there another way up on the top? Hold on. Ah, did it. Okay, here we go. Trauma in the library. This is a two-year project funded by the IMLS. And I have to tell you, when we applied for this project, it was pre-COVID. And we had no idea how timely this project was going to be. We have a stellar advisory committee, members from all over the LIS world, as well as from the PTSD world, experts as well. What you see here, these are just some of the most common terms that are coming up in the questionnaire and other methods that we've been conducting so far. So here, this is the primary research questions that we have guiding our study. So first, do public library staff experience symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, due to incidents in the library workplace? Secondly, we're asking how prevalent are PTSD symptoms and other mental health concerns among library staff? And then thirdly, how can libraries best support employees more effectively? So we have 3 research stages, and we're posting links to all of this because we're really, really hoping that you will join us, in this journey. So firstly, we're doing an online survey. Initially, we were just going to post a survey for a few months, and we were hoping to get 500 responses, but we have since turned this into a longitudinal survey because trauma does not stop, especially during the pandemic. And to date, we've had over 1,000 responses. The survey takes 10, 15 minutes, something like that. And we have a draw for Amazon gift cards for $20. The second stage is semi-structured interviews, and these are ongoing. And you can volunteer for this through the survey, or you can just reach out to this for this. And we're giving all participants in the survey a $50 Amazon gift card. The third stage has gone a little bit sideways. And for this, we wanted to do presentations at conferences such as ALA, IFLA, WLA, there's many different conferences that we could attend. But of course, because of the pandemic, we have not been meeting in person. So instead, we've been doing a lot of online conferences. Well, what I mean by going a little bit sideways is that many of you probably know about the fishbowl technique. And I love fishbowls. So what we wanted to do with this is that we wanted to, take maybe, 15, 20 minutes and share our results to date. And then by the fishbowl technique, what you do is you take 5 chairs and you put them in the center of the room. And then we ask for 4 volunteers to sit on 4 of the 5 chairs with 1 chair empty. And then, we start the discussion going among the 4 people. And they are the only 4 people who can talk. And we talk about themes that were in our presentation, such as what do you think of the results so far? What kind of incidents of trauma have you maybe personally experienced, or that other people have experienced? Things that pertain to our study. And then if someone from the audience, if you have a question or you want to join the conversation, you come sit in the empty chair, and one of the 4 people, they leave, and the group continues to talk. And then if someone else in the audience, they want to join that fishbowl conversation, they sit in the empty chair, and one of the other 4 people leave. And so it continues. So this is why it's called the fishbowl technique, and it's just a really amazing way to have conversation, and it was very inclusive. We have a lot of people join the conversation. But anyway, because of COVID, and it's kind of difficult to figure that's kind of out online. We haven't been able to do it, but we're going to be at ALA. We're going to be at IFLA. So as we say here, in Jordan, inshallah, we'll be able to get that technique going. So where are we right now in terms of the people who have participated in the survey? And most of our respondents have been from the public library sphere. You can see over almost 85%. Academic, we have school libraries, special libraries, and then other as well. Even though, as we positioned the proposal, we thought it would be mostly public library, the trauma is everywhere, absolutely in all library settings. You can see here for library location type, almost 30% for urban central locations, but we also have a good chunk of urban branches, rural, tribal, suburban, town, and other locations. In terms of people's most current role in the library, it's frontline service, no doubt about that. But then we also have people working as pages and security, as tech, computer, IT support, and over 80% of respondents work full-time, meaning over 30 hours a week. Other demographics is that 8.5% of respondents identify as transgender, over 30% as LGBT or other, almost 60% of respondents have 8+ years of experience, and over 15% have told us that they are unsure of their existing EAP, Employment Assistance Program benefits, and 10% have said that they were denied access, definitely highlighting a need for better support. And by the way, all individuals who take our survey have been provided with the list of mental health resources, and the same is definitely provided to all people who participate in our interviews. So to get a really, really good idea of how people are dealing with stress and people's where people are starting from, we've asked participants to disclose their diseases or health conditions. And you can see at the very top, people have been dealing with anxiety and depression, back pain, chronic pain, as well as asthma, hypertension, arthritis. We've also asked people if they've experienced trauma in the workplace, has the impact of these events heightened their personal history of trauma or discrimination. And here you can see what people have reported in terms of disability status, gender, sexual orientation, race, other mental health diagnosis, other trauma, and whether they've had a dire accident or illness, and they've definitely reported chronic stress and trauma. So in other words, what we're asking here is that if people if they've experienced trauma in the workplace, has that workplace experience, has that had an impact on their, has it heightened, in other words, has it amplified their experience of other trauma or discrimination? In other words, is there some kind of correlation there, amplification? And here, what we've been getting at is kind of like the reverse of that. We've asked people if they've had personal history of trauma, was that personal history, did that kind of amplify what they've experienced in the workplace? All right, so what we're getting at here is kind of like a reverse amplification of it. And you can see here that if people have had like the largest categories, people who reported having a mental health diagnosed condition, or if they've had chronic exposure to stress, then that made them more susceptible to experience trauma in the workplace, but so have other conditions that people reported. And you can see the different categories for people, what they reported in the survey. What we see here, this is very sad, are the difficult, stressful items that have occurred in libraries, including violence or other harm. And we've had to date over 3,561 traumatic incidents that people said that that they have experienced directly, that has actually happened to them. We also have categories that they witnessed it. We have categories that they learned about it. You can see there, but in terms of the categories that it specifically happened to them, over 3,561 incidents. Then we asked people how many employees directly experience this type of trauma at least once. You can see here the categories: verbal abuse, 644 incidents, over 18%, sexual harassment, destruction of property, direct threats, theft, physical assault, stress from protests, finding a person overdosed, life-threatening injuries, active shooter, assault with a weapon, sexual assault. And over 80% of respondents reported that the traumatic events occurred in the last 5 years. I want to share some anecdotes now from the surveys. One person said that there is not a person on my staff who has not been yelled at by a patron or lectured about proper library service or been made to feel lesser than. There is a lot of anger and staff have become easy targets. It makes public library service difficult. It makes me apprehensive to approach people. I have more difficulty shaking off a bad interaction and moving on. Another respondent said, I became a training exercise when a patron would not wear a mask, verbally screamed at me, approached in a threatening manner, and almost broke out the front door, kicking it open. Then he filmed the entire library, including staff, and zoomed in on their names, the building layout, harassed staff, then posted the video online. I was so scared for my personal safety that I asked for an immediate transfer to another library. In another survey, the respondent said, we were having about 200 incidents a year that involved direct threats or threats of physical harm to staff. Managers spend a large part of their time in a security role, and I've lost count how many times and ways I've been threatened in the last 7 years when incidents really started to rise. Most recently, a mentally ill, houseless person screamed in my face while maskless, threatened me, and spit on me. This was outside. When we soon allow patrons in the building again, almost all of us have severe worry about how to handle the types of incidents we had before we closed, along with anticipated greater incidents due to fights about wearing a mask, time limits, capacity, and etc. We don't even know how we're going to monitor restroom use where a lot of drug activity has always happened. But now we can only allow one person in at a time on a time limit. Have you ever tried to enforce time in a restroom for an aggressive or mentally ill person? We also have a high rate of exclusions based on racist behavior. And then another person told us, we lost a colleague to COVID, which impacted staff fears of reopening too early. Staff experience racist aggressions and microaggressions while enforcing rules of masks and distancing. Having administration think it is a hoax, having anti-mask administration not being on the same page and trying to disagree with staff quarantining or getting tested, lack of communication from administration, full staff meetings with unmasked staff, hours cut to the pandemic, but still expected to do all of our responsibilities. Lexa is going to lead some discussion about this, about traumatic responses which lead to PTSD. But basically we have 4 categories here: affective effects, cognitive effects, physical effects, and interpersonal effects. All of these together are responses that lead to staff having post-traumatic stress disorder. So this is a short presentation because Alexa and I are really interested in hearing your thoughts, hearing your questions, and having a discussion. So thank you very much for listening, and I want to hear from you. Thank you.
I think that you guys have covered a lot in the chat. I know this has been really informative and hopefully helpful for our attendees. You're not alone. I will also include a link to the survey and the slides to everyone who registered, and some resources, including taking care of yourself in trauma in the follow-up email. I think, Miles, do you have the link for the survey handy? So we'll get that sent out. If you have other ideas for attendees, have other ideas for presentations or recommendations for presenters on this topic, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and we can try to do some of that too.
Yes, and if I may, if anyone would like Lexa and I to speak, just please let us know. We would be very, very happy if you can come in person, and we can do this online. Lexa and I will be at ALA. We will be at IFLA. We invite everyone to please come. We're planning to do, or hoping to do, fishbowl. Keep our fingers crossed. Please participate in the survey, interview. Like I said, what we're able to report is only going to be as good as many people, who can talk with us. If you're, whatever reason, if you can't do the survey or the interview, by all means, just send us a note, an email, just whatever, because we really, really want to hear from everyone, because everyone's experience, everyone's ideas, thoughts, are just so important.
And thank you, Lexa and Dr. Fisher, for being here today. We appreciate you taking your time out to
thank you, Bobby.
For us.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. I am going to go ahead and end the webinar for everyone. If you're looking for CE, Miles did post that in the chat, but I'll also include that in the email I send out following the webinar, as well as a copy of the slides. If you would like Dr. Fisher and Lexa to present at your library, go ahead and grab her email address. Lexa, do you want to put yours back in the chat again real quick? There we go. All right. All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care of yourself today. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. This video was produced by the network of the National Library of Medicine. Select the circular channel icon to subscribe to our channel, or select a video thumbnail to watch another video from the channel.